So, hey everybody, you just heard a part of the shower scene music from the famous Alfred Hitchcock classic Psycho. And the reason why I showed you that before, or showed you audio wise, is because many people consider that scene to be one of the scariest movie scenes of all time. And I agree with them. It's a very scary scene. Hitchcock was very good about knowing what scared people. And if you really think about what really is scary about that scene, is the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis's mom, Janet Lee, uh, basically she was closed off. You know, she had nowhere to go. She had water and soap in her eyes and everything else. So she basically had nowhere to go, and that makes the scene scary because really she has no chance of fighting back against this person with a knife while she's in a shower. Um, but that is everybody else's opinion. That is, what the professionals, a lot of critics claim to be one of the most scariest scenes of all time. But what about everybody else's favorites? What are some personal scary moments in film? Everybody has them. So I thought for this video, I thought I could do a top five scariest horror film moments of all time for what I view as some of the scariest horror film moments of all time. Though the Psycho shower scene is pretty high up there for me, it surprisingly did not make my top five. But I will warn everybody, there is going to be some slight spoilers in this video since these scenes are really scary and they had every right to not be shown in the trailers because it would be spoiling some major scares to happen in these movies. So if you've never seen Paranormal Activity, The Conjuring, Sinister, Paranormal Activity 3, or Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining, I would not recommend this video, or at least skip past those parts of the video um, to ensure that you can enjoy those films and enjoy those scares the best way possible. Because I am going to get into some slight spoilers with those five films I listed. Once again, they're Paranormal Activity 1, The Conjuring, Sinister, Paranormal Activity 3, and The Shining. So if you've never seen those five films, just be forewarned, there will be some slight spoilers talked about in this video um, as I talk about why I view as some of the scariest film moments of all time. So for number five, we have The Shining. The scariest moment in that movie for me, you guys, is when Jack Nicholson walks into a bathroom of a hotel room. He sees a naked woman getting out of a bathtub. You see him miraculously making out with her. You think it's going to turn into some type of love scene, some type of fantasy he's living out. But at the last second, he looks in the mirror, and it turns out he's making out with a moldy corpse of a dead woman guest at the hotel. She has this really creepy witchy laugh. She kind of walks towards him like this after that, and she has this green moldy skin, and there's an additional corpse in the bathtub, and really, really creepy scene, you guys. Easily one of Kubrick's scariest scenes he's ever filmed, not just for The Shining, but of all time that he did. Really creepy moment. I jumped out of my seat when that scene happened. Really, really creepy scene. Really effective music. Once again, really creepy laugh. Um, Really creepy scene in the movie. At number four, we have Paranormal Activity 3. It's near the end of this film that really freaked me out. With Paranormal Activity 3, guys, and even with Paranormal Activity 2, didn't see number four all the way, unfortunately. But with the sequels, they're kind of on and off scares to me. The first film was really, really scary, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But specifically, the ending of number three really bothered me. Um, and once again, it was some on and off scares for some of these sequels, but the ending where the father of the girls that we're familiar with from Paranormal Activity 1 and 2, where they're little girls in this one, since it takes place several years before the first two Paranormal Activities, they're at the grandmother's house near the end of the third film, and it's right in the middle of the night. The dad hears some noises. He has this like old, because I think it's the 80s when this one took place, this old like 80s camcorder. Um, he decides to check out what all the noise is about, and for some odd reason, he's taking the camcorder with him. Comes back to the room. We don't even know this yet, but the grandmother has like orange eyes staring down at the wife of this guy, and while he's out checking out, what's going on. So she's looking in on this. He doesn't know that she's doing that in the room while he's gone. He checks out what's going on. Nothing's there. Goes back to the room, still hears noises. Goes back and checks it again. Does some further research. Sees like these weird symbols around the house. So once again, I apologize. This is very much a big spoiler for Paranormal Activity 3 if you've never seen it. Opens the door to the garage, sees all these witches. I'm talking the whole room is full of witches. Slams the door, runs into the house. People are chasing after him now. He's looking outside. He sees like people with fire crosses and everything else. He's going to be used for a sacrifice for these witches. The grandmother is aware that one of these children of this family, the two girls from the first two films, is haunted by this ghost. Wants to condemn the house. Wants to condemn the father. Thinks this family is cursed. Um, so they are after this guy, and the whole scene is so scary. I was like on the edge. I was like this in the theater. I was holding on to my seat watching this. Really creepy images. Really creepy women they used for these witches. The burning crosses alone were pretty freaky to watch. Very, very creepy scene. Easily one of the scariest endings I've ever seen to a film. How the dad gets killed at the end is really freaky. Very scary ending to a movie. Then I was like shocked in my seat, like just staring at the screen, looking at the people I was seeing it with, like, what the heck did I just watch? Very creepy ending to a movie. At number three, we have the film Sinister, starring Ethan Hawke. There's a scene, throughout the movie, this guy moves into this new house, or, this house that's new to him anyway, finds these old tapes, and for some odd reason, there's some type of demon who's convincing all these children that he possesses to kill off the families in these tapes. There, even though everybody's going to probably tell you that the lawnmower scene in this film is the creepiest on one of the tapes. For me, and this is just for me, this is just kind of a personal fear I have. I think this film definitely plays off of this personal fear I have very well, and I actually had a hard time sleeping the night I saw this film because of this scene. Um, One of the footages of this film, like one of the tapes that Ethan Hawke watches, it was kind of weird. It's like you'd think he'd move out of the house after seeing all these tapes, because they basically film all these scenes in this home. So you'd think he'd catch on right away and want to move back or move to a new house or whatever. But there's a scene involving a young girl has her mother and father tied up in the bed while they're sleeping at night. Ropes are kind of hanging or making them stay in the bed. They have tape over their mouths. They're moving around. They're trying to get out. She lights the bed on fire and cuts their throats. Well, actually, no. She lights the something on fire in her other tape. But yeah, she cuts the throats of the mother and father, and Bagul's just kind of staring down, watching it happen. He's just kind of shaking his head like this, and they show reflections of Bagul, and oh, it's just so creepy. He just kind of, let me see if I can try to do a good Bagul like staring on. He's just kind of looking down. So like imagine sleeping like you're the person sleeping right now. Bagul was just kind of staring down. Then he looks over the girl and he's like, he just kind of looks back at the dead corpse, and it's just so freaky. Um, Really, really freaky scene. And at number two, we have The Conjuring. This is a very recent film, so I apologize again for all the spoilers that are going on. But in The Conjuring, there's this ghostly spirit who is after this family in this home. This is actually based off of real events. This is actually what made the movie even scarier for me. Is there's actually real, like, proven things that happened with this family that really happened in this house all these years ago, back in the 70s, I think. But there's a scene in the movie where everybody's up in the middle of the night. They're hearing all these noises. One of the girls is saying like, "Oh, there's a ghost behind that person," and everything else. All this crap is going down this one night, and the mother and father are involved at this point. They're looking around. They're trying to figure out who this ghost is and what all the noise and what all the fussing and crying is about from all these young girls that they have for their daughters. And there's a scene where I forget which girl who was, I think one of them was sleeping in this room. Um, and they get to this closed cabinet of some kind. They open it up. Nothing's there. You think something's going to pop out. They close it. Then they look around the room some more. One of the girls like, or like she's looking up at the cabinet. And I swear to God, there's this woman creeping down. She's like, like really like this creepy snake tongue. Really, really freaky scene. I jumped out of my seat. I think I heard some people in the audience be like, "Oh shit!" Everybody's like watching the scene. They're like grasping on their seats like I was, and Really creepy scene. Whoever did the makeup for that woman's face did a terrific job because it really looked horrific and almost looked like she was molding in the ground all these years. Really freaky scene. Another scene I want to mention in this film, just because it's so creepy and it's actually briefly shown in the trailer. Um, there's a scene where the mother gets possessed by the very ghost we saw in the cabinet going down. It was really freaky. I'm telling you, it's a really creepy scene in the movie. But there's a scene where the mother gets possessed by that ghost, and basically, she's sleeping, and the ghost possesses her, and she like throws up some type of blood thing into her mouth, and the face once again. I think the face is even creepier in this one, to be honest, of the scene. Where it's like all these cracks and brown marks, and kind of like what the parent family described this ghost as. It almost looks like a rotting beehive for this face. And he has yellow contact lenses in, and she's hovering over the mother, and just the face she had is one of the freakiest things I've ever seen in a film. Very, very creepy film, you guys. The Conjuring, the lady on the cabinet scene, I think is one of the freakiest scenes in that entire movie. Just in my opinion, anyway. Some other people might tell you the scene involving a like woman in a basement with like black smudges around her eyes. That was a pretty freaky scene too. But I think the cabinet scene is what really sold me with that movie. And at number one, this is the film that made me have a hard time sleeping for a good, I'd say, 2 or 3 weeks maybe. It's Paranormal Activity 1, the very, very first one. I think the whole movie is freaky, but if I had to choose a scene that freaked me out the most, this is the scene that made me had a hard time sleeping around the time I first saw it. It's the scene where the couple's sleeping in the bed, and you hear the footsteps of. It's much louder in the movie. It's much more realistic footsteps. They're sleeping in the bed, and they hear these footsteps going on, and I think the door slightly closes during the scene, and something's going to happen, but it goes on for so long, and you think nothing's going to happen for a while, that eventually gets to the point. I think the tape even fast forwards to show you what actually happens with the ghost. The ghost just screams at the husband's face. Like we don't actually see the ghost because the ghost is inanimate. We're not supposed to see him. He's kind of invisible. But we see the shadow moving around throughout the movie. But he just screams at his face, and it's just so sudden and so unexpected that it's just a really, really creepy scene. I like jumped out. I was like horrified. I was like shaking when I was watching the scene. Um, Really, really freaky scene. It's just one of those things. You're just like, if you really think about the worst possible thing that could ever happen to you, I think that would be it. I think that'd be like the worst thing you could possibly wake up to one night. Um, Really freaky scene, you guys. That was my personal top five for scariest horror film moments of all time. If you guys want, leave a comment below of what you think are some of the scariest horror film moments of all time. List the top five. List your number one scariest moment. These are just my personal top five. I know a lot of people are probably going to put the cycle shower scene in their top five somewhere. But I hope you guys enjoyed this list, and hopefully I didn't scare you too much with this list. And once again, I'm sorry about the spoilers, but with this kind of list, I think it'd be hard to talk about these without giving away spoilers.